in many activist movements, people are not interested in getting arrested, and it's a privileged, act to participate in. So we're looking at economic justice and racial justice, as well as immigration justice as well. Like, certain people that are not citizens in this country are not going to be doing civil disobedience, if that makes sense, right? So I think that, there's the tactics that I kind of discussed. And then, you might get beaten, or just like really quickly, I'll just kind of go into it, which I was never, and I think Leslie knows, like, my situation being framed, like, is that, I'm at this top of a tripod that looks like, any of these things, and I'm sitting there closing off a big aquarium, and it was Memorial Day, and the aquarium, people were lined up, they had the fire trucks trying to take me down, I was all tied up to the thing, I wasn't coming down. They said, we'll just give you a misdemeanor, and we closed it off for like 4 hours, and the highway's all packed up, so I was like, great, that's what I'm going to do. And so I came down, the chief of police patted me down, videotaped the whole time, and then they take me down an alley, and little did I know that these two officers had a problem with me, while the chief of police didn't have a problem with me, right? And so there I am. I said, yeah, I'm going to come back. I'm going to protect these dolphins. The dolphins should not be in aquariums because they average, if they're not killed, average, 60 to 70 years in the wild, while in captivity in like a SeaWorld, they live around 7 to 10 years, right, with the dorsal fin flipping over, right? And we can just see the movie Cove, which is horrible, but a great, recommended video to watch if you want to see more about this stuff. And so here I am. I get arrested. I'm 20-something, probably 20 years old, 19 years old, thinking like I'm doing something awesome. And there I am. They said, excuse me, you forgot something. I'm like, what? I don't know what I forgot. And what I found that they told me I forgot was a big golf ball full of crack, right? And I am straight edge. Raise your hand if you know what straight edge is. Okay, I know it's a whole other generation. But straight edge is not drinking, smoking, no promiscuous sex, pretty straight, boring life. No, but you don't drink at all, you don't smoke at all, you don't do caffeine, and I really just got that value from Malcolm X in the Black Liberation Movement, saying keep the drugs out. Crack cocaine got into the black community by law enforcement, 1970s. You can see that Dark Alliance book. And so there we are. I was framed, didn't know what to do. My life was chaotic. I was just crying. The cop was like, "Are you serious?" And then two other straight edge kids at that time, 20 seconds later, got arrested. If he's doing crack, I'm doing crack. F you. And they got arrested. Boom, boom. And then we're like, you're going to have to search us all. So this dolphin protest turned into an anti-police brutality protest, in 20 seconds. And I think you all need to prepare yourselves to those kind of things, which I wasn't. So 2.5 years, I had to deal with this over my head. If I was looking at 10 to 15 to life, right? I didn't know. The DA, because we had a video of me being searched, was pretty much saying don't say anything, and everything's pretty much cool. Everything became pretty much cool to me. I got my stuff back, went down to where I was, went into it, and little did I know who was opening the door to the courtroom. The guy that framed me. And that was his new job, opening the door to the courtroom. And I was like, that is karma. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And I think what we need to understand is these are individuals, but they have but these individuals do have personal stress in their lives, and sometimes when they are overworked and in very hard situations that they're not skilled to do, police officers typically, a BA or an AA, they're put into situations like in the military. So a 19-year-old kid with an M16 is now shooting people he doesn't know, and he's going to have trauma. These police officers have trauma, and how they release this trauma is beating the crud out of 19-year-olds or framing up 19-year-olds. And I think we have to understand their situation And when we talk about like negotiations and stuff, it's like, hey, I understand the situation you're in. I'm in the same situation, but you know, why don't you take a breath? I'll take a breath, and we got to de-escalate this because it can escalate really quick. And we've seen this. Trayvon Martin is a perfect example where something escalated so much, where you know kids around this country are being shot, specifically a lot more African Americans than white suburban kids. If that makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but that's the reality. So we have to understand, once you're getting arrested, all these things. But let's put that aside for a second, and then I'm going to wrap up and then allow Leslie to say his part, and I'll go back to my part. Is family. Who's got a family? Raise your hand. Who's got jobs in here? Raise your hand. Okay. Who has a partner in here? Boyfriend, girlfriend, all that stuff. Days. Okay, so if you get arrested, you affect other people, right? And that's what I found out really quick, right? I affected my family, right? I was getting busted for crack, and I was like totally against drugs, and I was like not in favor of like anything whatsoever. And now my family is being asked, your son, like, you know, does crack? Like, that's horrible, and that's not a good representation of your family, da-da-da-da. And then they start distancing themselves from me, and then some of my friends start distancing themselves from me. They started seeing that police started, you know, being more interested in where I was on a daily basis. So they said, hey, Daniel, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. It was nice being your friend. And so these are the conversations that we don't want to like be a bummer, but we have to be like reality. And like when I got arrested, when these kind of things happened to me, the number one thing I said, and I remember in San Antonio at like an animal rights protest, is build community, build friendships, and build people that you really believe in and will support you. And like, you know, it's corny, but Che Guevara also said it, love, you know, is the essence of any revolution. And any revolutionary. Love everybody. And try to make that love, you know, perpetuate and stay. No matter if you're going to be vegan tomorrow or not, keep that love. That's the foundation, right? Don't do anything, any tactic or strategy on hate. I hate this vivisector. I hate this person. I hate military soldiers. I hate cops. Because that just eats you up inside, right? Do it because you love trees. Do it because you love animals. Do it because you love, like, kids. Like, that's why you should do it, right? And I think once you do that, like, you really will find, you know, the distance of, like, who you're going to lose and who you won't lose. Because I've been doing this for 20 years. Started doing activism when I was 15 years old, right? And I'm now 36. So that being said, there was a lot of people that left my life. And there's a few people in the movement that I'm involved in that are still there. And I would say there's like a dozen, right? But those people I'm committed to, right? And that committed to that relationship. And that's the kind of relationships that you need to start building. So with that being wrapped up, I'll let you go. Sorry.
No, it's great. Just to talk a little bit about dealing with the press. A lot of these protests and civil disobedience, you know, it's almost always has an element, if not a major element, of trying to get your message across to a broader public audience, which is very often through the press, right? And so there's different roles, which is another thing that we've been meaning to touch on, that people have in action. So you know, the first civil disobedience I was involved in, while I did end up getting arrested, that wasn't the plan. The plan was for one person to scale a building at UC Berkeley and hang a banner off of it, which we did. And then once we, afterwards, kind of like ran around the campus. Once we achieved that main goal, we kind of like ran around the campus in the middle of the night, like on some posters about vivisection and stuff like that. And I ended up getting arrested, not really like taken to a real jail, but a campus arrest in that situation. So I had a role in that was really significant. I was doing lookout work and working on radio. I was dressed in black. I had done a half dozen planning sessions and practiced with everyone for a long time. I had a backup role, so if so-and-so couldn't do this, I could jump in and take care of that position too. but I wasn't gonna be, the plan was that I wasn't gonna be the one that